Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now in last week's video, or it might have been a little bit before that actually, I mentioned that I might be getting a dual boiler, and as it happens, the Sage dual boiler has turned up. So I just want to give some initial thoughts, impressions. It's not a full review. I've had it about 4 or 5 days now, and I just want to let you know what I think about it. Was it a good purchase? If I think you should purchase it, and who it's for. So let's go on with it. So let's start with what's in the box. Now, I purchased the Dynamic Duo, so that's the Sage dual boiler and the Smart Grinder Pro. Now, I've got no intentions of using the Smart Grinder Pro because if I just move my head the opposite way, you can see a niche zero behind me. So, you know, those grinders are sort of, they're not in the same league. The niche is obviously a better grinder, but it's only £50 more here in the UK to buy them as a package. Now that grinder retails for £210. So if I can get £150, that knocks it off the price of my dual boiler. Someone gets a cheap brand new grinder, I get some money off my dual boiler, everyone's on a win-win. So then if we move to the accessories, you get quite something I've not seen before actually, but it's a rubber blind basket, which I quite like actually, because it just means you haven't got to flip or you haven't got to take out your normal basket, put in a blind one, and you can just use this rubber attachment. It's also got sort of like a proprietary holder in the middle, if you like, for Sage's they're not descaling, they're back flushing chemical basically. So it's where you just put your kefizzer if you wanted to. You also get a selection of filter baskets, so you get single and double shots, both in for fresh coffee and for shop bought coffee, so supermarket coffee, because they're pressurized baskets. So we'll come back to that in a bit. You get a milk jug. It's a nice addition. It's not going to set the world on fire. It's a fairly cheap jug, but you get one that's nice. You get something called the razor, which is their sort of distribution leveling tool. I won't bother with that. You get a water filter, which I have put in the machine, but I probably won't buy another one because I use bottled water. And you get some of the little bits of Allen keys. There's a tool for if your steam one gets blocked. It's like a little pin tool. I don't know why you wouldn't be cleaning it and flushing it, so that wouldn't happen anyway, so that's an irrelevant tool. But if we talk about build quality, I think from afar it actually looks fairly expensive. It looks all metal, it's got a good look to it, it's got a good feel. I think it looks premium, but obviously, as we know, it's all plastic, and that's for the price, you know, for what it does, the features it's got, how the dual boiler, you've got a 400ml brew boiler and a 900ml steam boiler. So you've got great capacity there to pull back-to-back shots. Obviously on top of that, I believe it's got a heat exchanger, so you've got even better thermal stability. You've got a pretty decent pre-infusion, so you can set the time and also the pressure. I'll go more into that in a later video. Like I said, I've only probably pulled about 10 shots or so on it, and I'm still messing about with the pre-infusion, messing about my grind settings just to get things dialed in and play about. You can set start timers. You can do all sorts. You can set either on the push button, so you've got manual 1 cup, 2 cup. You can set the 1 and 2 cup at either a duration time-wise or an amount of flow to pass through. You've got all sorts. There's loads of features. It is packed, and like I say, I'll get back onto that in a future video. Now, one thing I want to touch on is this consumer versus prosumer machines. Now, this is very obvious to me, a consumer machine, because there are things written on it like where to lock in the portafilter. There's a hot symbol. When you flip there's a lid on the top you can flip in front of the cup warmer. It tells you to regularly change filters, it tells you to regularly do the cleaning, and it tells you regularly to descale. And also just in front of that, where you can fill water in, it says do not put milk in there. So it's clearly aimed at a consumer buyer, but I think it definitely fits a prosumer market. So I think for people like myself who've come from a Gaggia Classic, obviously I'm not using any of the included baskets because I've got an 18-gram IMS Precision basket. I'm obviously not going to fill it with milk. I'll descale it, and well, very rarely descale it because, like I say, I use bottled water. And the cleaning, the kefizzer, basically I will do regular sort of back flush after every time I've used it anyway. So once I've finished for that period of time, I turn it off. And I mean, if you can just see, look at it in the background, it does look fairly good. Oh, also, I forgot to mention this included tamper. I forgot to mention that. Don't use that. It's like 58 mil. It wobbles about in the basket. It doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel very premium. But like I say, I think people who are going to be buying this machine, so let's get onto that. If you're thinking of buying this machine, if you've never brewed any coffee yourself before at home, yes, get this machine, absolutely. I think even you definitely want the Dynamic Duo then. I don't think it will do any harm using that grind to start with, but you're probably going to find some limitations on it. But definitely you will need to probably watch some videos on it on YouTube or read some reviews, etc., to learn what you're doing. But anyone like me who's coming from a different, cheaper machine, single boiler, heat exchanger machine, whatever, to a dual boiler, you already really know this machine. You know that you just need to play about with the pre-infusion and bits and pieces, and you're good to go. And tools like this and the filter baskets and the milk jug, you've already got your own. You know, you'll already have your own versions that you're using, you know, and your shock collars and all that stuff. You're not going to use any of these included tools. But obviously with this being a consumer machine, they include them. But like I say, I think consumer machine thought, but definitely with prosumer benefits. And I think for a dual boiler, it's a fantastic value machine. It's got a quick heat up time of about 7 minutes, I'd say. One thing that is a negative, which I need to change, I mean, this port filter, great quality, I think, really nice and heavy. But for me, I don't like the spouted. That's not a dig at Sage and Breville, you know, but just for me, I need to get a bottomless porter filter. I'm going to do a video on that anyway, spouted versus bottomless or naked, whatever you want to call it. So subscribe for that if you're interested. That's coming, because I think there's definitely more benefits to the bottomless rather than just your nice Instagram photo or video. But yeah, you know, steaming capability, steam on demand, no issues. You know, I found that steaming milk, even the first time I used it, it's got way more consistency than the Gaggia Classic with steaming milk. Way more sort of, I don't even think it's definitely necessarily more powerful. It seems to take a little bit while, but I know that I can repeat what I'm doing. So I'll give you an example. If I'm steaming milk, get the whirlpool going, lower the jug so we can hear that kissing sound. If I say count to 3 seconds, put it back in, let it swirl, and then obviously it gets the temperature, done, it will consistently pretty much do that every single time. Whereas the Gaggia Classic was just a nightmare, you know, it would spit and spurt and pressure and off and on, and just a nightmare to steam milk with, you know. And I think half the battle of pouring decent latte art really was the machine. Yes, it could do it, but it didn't have any consistency. And that's what you'll get with this. I think after this dual boiler, you're probably at a case of maybe diminishing returns, as in, between this, I looked at this machine and the Lillet Bianca, the V3. Now, obviously, by the time I've sold the grinder and whatever, I'm probably going to be in for about £1,000 for this machine. The Bianca's another £800 or £900 more than that. And if you want to add flow control, you can to this. You can do the Slayer mod. So technically, apart from obviously the stainless versus plastic, etc., the difference is probably not going to be major. Obviously, you've got an E61 group head versus this with the dual boiler and its heat exchanger. I think it's kind of proprietary, to be honest. It may not be, I may be making that up, but it seems to work differently to other dual boilers. And you know, as I say, going from a Gaggia Classic to the dual boiler, massive difference, just over double the price. I think you probably, to get a lot better than this, you're going to have to spend sort of probably £3,000-4,000, which where I'm at in my sort of coffee journey, if you like. Currently it's not something I want to spend. I think I've got many years with this yet. So obviously if you do the mods, you may sort of avoid your warranty, but I think some of them are replaceable. Let's get on to a few negatives straight off the bat. One, the OPV is set at the wrong pressure. Mine's set at roughly about 10.5 bar. Now it is easy to do. I have whipped the lid off, and basically they've put blobs of glue, bit like a tamper seal really, because it's not holding the attachment down, which is over the OPV, which you'll turn. It's a very simple mod to do, but what I am doing is I'm using sort of the pre-infusion to try and keep the pressure down. So there's that. I don't like So that's one thing I don't like, the OPV's not right. I don't like how they put all these symbols and all sorts, and I don't like how this on the front is actually plastic over, because I kept touching it thinking, oh, group's not getting that hot. But what you'll find is if you just look underneath it, you can see the actual cast group head, if you like, underneath it, which does get hot. But this top piece, even when it's red hot, you can just hold it. What else don't I like off the bat? I think that's about it. Honestly, I think the OPV's not set. Oh, the 20-minute timer. I mean, it's neither here nor there for me, you know. I think 20 minutes with this machine, it's ample. So what I mean by 20-minute timer is when you turn this machine on, if you don't touch a button or do anything for 20 minutes, auto turns off. And that's sort of an EU regulation, which I don't think they can get around. Well, other manufacturers have got around it, but Sage certainly haven't. They've left it in there. Being a consumer machine, they're probably not allowed to have an override in there. So, but I mean, I haven't found it to be much of an issue. Like I say, it heats up in about 10 minutes or so. Takes a little bit longer because I'm using the spouted portafilter. Obviously a bottomless would heat up quicker, less material. But if you say you're walking past it, you think it's been about 15 minutes, just push one of the buttons, just push the exit button. Push that exit button, you've reset your 20 minutes. So it's not a huge issue for me, I don't think. Some people are going, oh, I can't buy it because of the 20-minute auto off. You know, if it did go off and it's gone off for 20 minutes, it's not exactly going to be freezing cold. So just turn it back on, give it 5 minutes, and you'll be ready to go. It's not a cafe machine or anything like that. It's a home barista's machine, and that is how Sage market it. They market it as a home barista. So to wrap this one up, what I would say is if you're looking for either an upgrade from a single boiler, you don't want to blow the budget, or you're looking to get straight in, you want to spend the money, get a dual boiler, I would hands down recommend it. I think for the money, you cannot beat it. And I actually think it's a fairly good looking bit of kit. You know, yeah, it's a little bit plasticky, but you know, it's the innards that count, and it looks good. It probably will scratch. We'll see over the test of time how it gets on. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, have you got one? Are you thinking of buying one? Let me know, I'd love to hear from you. Also, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Plenty more content coming in the future. I'll catch you guys in the next one.